Here's my Bike Tricks Juggernaut Ultra FS. A little dirty, it's not waxed. I ride it daily. It's hard to keep it pristine and clean like that, but anyway, I've done some modifications to it, done some upgrades that have really helped me be able to push this bike to the limits of me as a rider. I'll start off with the tires. These Maxxis Minion 4.8. Amazing tread, really deep tread too. Really just grabs hold of the turf. Run them anywhere from 10 to 12 pounds. I've run the rear quite a bit lower than that, 8 and 6. It's held up just fine. Got the Ren front fork. It's been really a good fork. Beyond satisfied. Is it as good as the Mastodon? I don't know. I haven't tried the Mastodon on this bike, but it's a stiff fork. I heard there were complaints about it being not a stiff fork and too much flex, but lateral flex, I haven't seen hardly anything to it. It's been awesome. As for the brakes, I'm running these 220 millimeter MDRP 6-bolt Magura brake disc. Amazing brake disc. Just absolutely amazing. Running them on the front and back. I'm running these adapters here, Alligator XQ37 160s to 220. I had to take some millimeters off the top of these adapters, almost 3 millimeters, 2.8 millimeters off the top of the adapter to bring the pads in contact with the disc. They were just running way too far off of this disc, and now they're running right where they need to. Anything closer than that and thermal expansion could start to be an issue and start causing rubbing on the inside of the caliper from the disc. Don't want that to happen. Jaguar Pro brake lines. I got just these standard ones here. The standard color is kind of a gray. I could have gone with a neon green. They've got all sorts of awesome colors. Steel braided, Kevlar lined. I didn't notice I didn't notice a huge jump in performance between the two of them, but it goes to reason that they're Kevlar lined and they're steel braided. Actually, there's a PTFE liner inside there. It's a more advanced plastic than that. They're much stronger and stouter, and they do give me a firmer feel to the brake. Yeah, I could probably break the lever if I really tried, but I mean, that's locked up. These are definitely stiffer than they were. For shock and performance upgrades on the bike here, I went with this 200 by 57 Monarch Plus RC3. It's the Debonair version. This version is not really highly sought after because of this Debonair. It ended up being too soft for a lot of frame geometries. For the Juggernaut Ultra FS, it's a perfect fit. It will give you about another inch of wheel travel, and it's worked phenomenal. It changes the geometry a little bit in the rear linkage here, which is not a desirable thing, but as soon as you sit on it and you take up that initial 30% sag, it puts you back into that stock geometry on this frame. Really exceptional. I can't even begin to tell you how well this back of this bike tracks to the ground. You'll see, I'm sure you've seen that in the videos, and you'll see that in my future videos, as long as I don't crash. Pedals. I went with these pedals here are the Crank Brothers Double Shot 2. They have a platform on one side and they're locking on the other side. As you can see, I've been riding it a lot and they are phenomenal. I have not had any lost pedals. I haven't clipped out of there on accident. I've been able to they take some getting used to. There's some serious tension in there. If you're one of those guys that has to bail out a lot and you're worried about not being able to get out of the cleats quick enough, these aren't the pedal for you. I'm like to try to ride it all the way to the ground and save it. So that's my own thing. Let's see here. What else have I done? Rear cassette cluster, 11 by 50. I went with a very cheap 11 by 50. It's called the Balani. This Balani 11 by 50 is, well, my gimbal's not helping me out here. There we go. This 11 by 50, cheap, anodized, looks kind of good. It's dirty as can be. I do plan on riding. I haven't changed the derailleur. This is still the stock derailleur with this cassette cluster, 11 by 50. I mean, it's a huge cluster. Kept the stock chain ring up front. Oh, it's 46 or 42. Believe it to be 46. Fenders. Mud Hunger fenders. They will fit this 4.8 tire. You'll have to do some massaging with a heat gun, and you can definitely get them to fit. In terms of brake pads, I went with a Sommet, S-O-M-M-E-T, semi-metallic pad. It allows me to remove these pads without taking the caliper off. All I have to do is loosen this little bolt here, and these pads come straight out through the top, and I don't have to monkey with anything there. Just awesome. Not having to adjust your pads, stick a business card in there, and tighten everything back down, be able to quick swap your pads. I tried numerous different pads. These have been the best. They don't break good cold. You got to warm them up. Once you warm them up, their bite increases tremendously. Most of the pads that I tried, the bite, they started to fade as they got hot. These are just the opposite, and I really need them breaking from 40, 45 back down to 15 and 20 miles an hour. 21 amp hour battery, must have. The Ultra motor is a power hog, and well, you want to go fast, you need to have a good battery. Armageddon headlamp speaks for itself. I mean, you don't need an AA battery headlight up front. You need to be able to actually see in the dark. Let's see here. Magura Royal Blood. You will need a bottle of Magura Royal Blood if you go to do these brakes. The quad piston brakes are quite difficult to bleed in their entirety. You have to go slow. More than anything, your typical reservoir adapter that would plug into these, up into the calipers, up into these hand levers, will suck air if you start getting too aggressive. If you start getting too aggressive trying to bleed your brakes, you're going to suck air through the little pin that drops down in these, and you will introduce air into these lines. Ask me how I know at 1 o'clock in the morning. I guess that's it. Everything else has been pretty much stock. Seat posts have been great. Vela plush seat, great. See a little rust starting to happen underneath here. That's a big chunk of steel that could probably get removed. Put something a little more high speed in there. And that's it for the Juggernaut Ultra FS. Any questions? Ask me. My shift sensor has been removed. Got to cover that with some black tape. Just happened to me. Have at it. Hope to have a top speed video for you guys shortly. Maybe in the next week. Rains have stopped and roads are drying out so that I can really get out there and press it. See if we can hit that 50 miles an hour. Bye.